There's a kind of woman who walks into a room and doesn't have to speak loudly to be heard. She doesn't perform her worth, she lives it. What makes her magnetic isn't her looks or her charm. It's something quieter, deeper. It's the way she carries the weight of her story without shame. She has walked through her own fire, and instead of hiding the ashes, she's planted something in them. She's not trying to be perfect, she's just honest. Owning your story doesn't mean you broadcast every scar or mistake. It means you stop running from them. It means you sit with the parts of yourself you once tried to hide and learn to speak to them with kindness. The best women, the ones who attract emotionally healthy, available men, are not afraid of their shadows. They've met their fears, their grief, their heartbreak, and instead of pretending they were never there, they've made peace with them. When a woman owns her story, she becomes deeply self-aware. She knows what shaped her, what broke her, what healed her. She doesn't ask a man to complete her because she's already done the soul work of becoming whole on her own. That kind of self-awareness changes everything. It makes her presence grounding, her words intentional, and her love steady. She doesn't need to chase or impress. She invites simply by being. A woman like this doesn't pretend to be low maintenance if she's not. She doesn't silence her needs just to keep a man interested. She knows what she brings to the table, and she's not afraid to eat alone. Her confidence doesn't come from praise or validation. It comes from years of doing the internal work. That quiet confidence is magnetic to the kind of men who aren't intimidated by strength, but drawn to it. The truth is, a woman who owns her story can also own her vulnerability. She's not afraid to say, "This hurt me," or "I'm still learning how to trust." And because she's honest with herself, she makes space for honest relationships. She isn't stuck in shame spirals. She doesn't get defensive when someone sees her imperfections. She breathes through discomfort because she knows discomfort is where truth often lives. And here's the thing, the best men, the ones who are emotionally intelligent, secure, and grounded, they can feel that depth from across the room. They aren't looking for someone to fix or someone to worship them. They're looking for a partner. And when a woman has the courage to be fully herself, flaws and all, she becomes the kind of partner who invites real intimacy, the kind that can actually last. Owning your story also means you stop comparing. You don't try to mold yourself into what you think a desirable woman should be. You realize that trying to fit into someone else's expectations will always shrink you. And you're not here to be small. You're here to take up space, to be seen, to love and be loved for who you actually are. That's what allows someone to love you in return, not for the performance, but for the truth of you. So if you want to attract a good man, a man who sees you, hears you, and respects you, start here. Own your story. Own your mess, your growth, your softness, your strength. Because the moment you stop hiding is the moment you become impossible to overlook. Not because you're trying to be chosen, but because you've already chosen yourself. There is something powerful about a woman who doesn't try to force life into a box. She's not gripping the steering wheel of love so tightly that she forgets to enjoy the drive. Instead, she leads with curiosity. She wants to understand, not control. That energy, it's disarming, inviting. It tells the world and the men who meet her, "I'm here to experience this, not to script it." Too many of us were taught to have a checklist, the right man, the right traits, the right timing. But love doesn't thrive in rigid blueprints. It thrives in curiosity. A woman who leads with curiosity doesn't ask, "Does he meet all my expectations?" She asks, "Who is he when he's at ease? How do I feel around him? What's unfolding here? And can I be present enough to notice it?" That's the kind of approach that builds connection, not just compatibility. When a woman leads with curiosity, she asks questions that come from a place of wonder, not worry. She doesn't interrogate, she explores. She listens more than she assumes. She watches who someone is when they're unguarded instead of trying to mold them into someone else. And when things don't go the way she hoped, she doesn't spiral into panic. She pauses, reflects, adjusts. Curiosity helps her stay grounded instead of reactive. This kind of woman understands that control is just fear in disguise. The fear of being hurt, the fear of wasting time, the fear of not being enough. But she's not ruled by fear anymore. She's done enough healing to know that certainty is not a prerequisite for connection. Presence is. So instead of leading with demands or defenses, she opens her heart. Gently, bravely, she lets things unfold without needing to grip the outcome. And because of that, people feel safe around her. Men feel like they can exhale. There's no invisible audition happening, no pressure to be perfect. The space she creates in her energy makes it easier for authenticity to rise. That's the magic of curiosity. It pulls the masks off gently without ever needing to ask. And when she's truly met with authenticity in return, that's when intimacy grows. This woman doesn't pretend she has no needs. She simply expresses them without manipulation. She can say, this is what I want, without trying to control whether the other person gives it. She offers the truth, not ultimatums. That energy shifts everything. It leaves room for two people to choose each other freely, not out of obligation, but out of desire. Curiosity makes her flexible. She doesn't crumble when a man surprises her, challenges her, or even disagrees with her. She leans in. She says, tell me more. Because she's secure enough in herself to not be threatened by difference. That doesn't mean she tolerates disrespect. Not at all. It means she doesn't expect someone to mirror her in order to feel connected. She's interested in who people really are, not just who they are when they're pleasing her. And when things don't work out, she grieves, yes, but she doesn't chase. She doesn't beg. She doesn't try to rewind or rewrite. Her curiosity helps her accept what is instead of clinging to what should have been. That's how she heals with grace. That's how she protects her peace without closing her heart. The best men feel this energy. They aren't being sized up, they're being seen. They're not being tested, they're being understood. And when a man is ready for real intimacy, the kind rooted in freedom and trust, he doesn't just like a woman like this. He respects her. He values her. He realizes how rare it is to feel truly welcomed instead of managed. So if you want to build love that lasts, not love that performs, lead with curiosity. Let yourself explore instead of control. Stay open-hearted in a world that keeps telling you to play small, play hard, or play safe. The right man won't need you to shrink or script anything. He'll meet you right there in the honest, sacred space where curiosity lives. There's a certain power in a woman who can say no without apologizing. Not out of coldness, but from clarity. She's not guarded, she's grounded. Her boundaries aren't walls to keep people out. They're doors that open only for those who knock with respect. A woman like this doesn't just know what she wants, she knows what she won't accept. And that kind of self-respect, that's magnetic. She understands that love without boundaries isn't love. It's self-abandonment dressed up as devotion. She's done with the days of shrinking herself to fit into someone else's life. She's learned, maybe the hard way, that being chosen at the cost of your dignity never leads to real connection. So now she chooses herself first, and from that place of deep alignment, she attracts love that honors her, not love that tests her. Her boundaries are not threats, they are invitations. They say, if you want to be close to me, come in peace, come with kindness, come with consistency. She doesn't demand perfection, but she does require presence, emotional availability, accountability. She knows what she brings to the table, and she's not afraid to eat alone until the right person sits beside her. Not above her, not beneath her, but beside her. A woman like this doesn't play games. She doesn't weaponize silence or manipulate affection. She's direct, not harsh, honest, not brutal. And because she's done the work of healing, her boundaries don't come from bitterness. They come from wisdom. She's been through enough to know that love without respect is just chaos with lipstick. She's also not afraid to walk away, not out of drama, but out of self-protection. She doesn't wait around hoping someone will wake up and treat her right. If someone shows her that they can't meet her with the same level of energy, she doesn't shame them. She simply steps back. She knows that staying in a situation that keeps hurting you is a form of self-abandonment, and she refuses to betray herself like that again. What makes her stand out is that she sets her boundaries before things get toxic. She doesn't wait until she's falling apart. She speaks up early. She says, "This doesn't feel right," or "That crossed a line." And because she's calm and clear, people take her seriously. She doesn't need to scream or break down to be heard. She's already listening to herself. And here's the beauty of it. The right men respect this energy. The emotionally mature ones don't run from boundaries. They welcome them because they know boundaries don't create distance. They create safety. A woman who honors her own limits creates space where real intimacy can grow. And a good man sees that not as a threat, but as a blessing. But let's be honest, not everyone will like her boundaries. Some people will call her difficult or too much. That's fine. Let them. She's no longer in the business of convincing people to treat her well. She's in the business of living a life that feels like truth. And the people meant for her won't be pushed away by her self-respect. They'll be drawn in by it. Boundaries have also taught her how to love others better, because once you learn how to hold your own boundaries, you naturally begin to honor other people's. She doesn't try to fix or control anyone. She knows her lane and she stays in it. And that kind of emotional intelligence, it's a gift in relationships. It keeps love clean, honest, and mutual. This kind of woman also doesn't confuse connection with attachment. She doesn't cling to someone just because they're familiar or convenient. If someone makes her feel small, she lets them go. Not because she doesn't care, but because she cares about herself. She knows that true love doesn't require sacrificing your sanity. It should feel like home, not like a war. She also understands that boundaries evolve. What she tolerated at 25, she won't tolerate at 35, and that's growth. She doesn't judge her past self for not knowing better. She thanks her, because that younger version of her helped build the woman she is now, the woman who finally sees herself as worthy, worthy of being respected, worthy of being protected, worthy of being loved well. So if you want to attract the kind of man who sees your strength as beauty, not a threat, start here. Get crystal clear about your boundaries, not just what you say no to, but what you say yes to. Speak up, hold your line, and know this. The moment you stop shrinking to be liked is the moment you start being loved for real. There's something deeply beautiful about a woman who can love with her whole heart and keep herself intact. She doesn't vanish into someone else's life. She doesn't pour until she's empty. She knows how to give without giving herself away. And that's the kind of love that lasts. She's learned, often through pain, that loving someone isn't the same as losing yourself in them. She remembers what it felt like to twist herself into someone else's expectations, to silence her needs, to abandon her boundaries just to be easy to love. She's done with that. She knows now that if she has to disappear in order to be in a relationship, it's not love. It's sacrifice pretending to be connection. A woman who loves without losing herself brings her full self to the table, her dreams, her voice, her joy, her fears. She doesn't filter her truth to keep someone else comfortable. She doesn't hide her strength to protect their ego. She shows up fully and expects the same in return. Her love is honest, not performative. It says, this is who I am. Can you meet me here? She doesn't chase, beg, or bargain. If someone pulls away, she doesn't run after them. She returns to herself. That's her anchor. Her inner world is not dependent on someone else's affection. Of course, she wants to be loved, but she doesn't need it to feel valid. Her worth is rooted. Her identity is not built on how much someone texts her back or how intensely they pursue her. And because of that, she doesn't overgive. She doesn't fall into the trap of being the healer, the fixer, or the emotional sponge. She supports, yes, but she doesn't save. That's not her job. Her love is not a rescue mission. It's a sacred exchange, a two-way flow. She's done with one-sided relationships where she's doing all the work while calling it devotion. This woman understands that interdependence is the goal, not codependence. She can lean in and stand tall. She can ask for help and hold her own. She can love someone deeply without losing her inner compass. And when conflict arises, she doesn't collapse. She communicates, she reflects, she stands her ground with grace. Loving without losing herself also means she makes space for her life, her passions, her friendships, her solitude. She doesn't give it all up the moment someone enters her world. She expands. She doesn't shrink. A man doesn't become her whole world. He becomes a meaningful part of it. And because she nourishes her own life, she brings richness to the relationship, depth, perspective, passion that isn't just about him, but about life itself. And here's what's often overlooked. That kind of energy is irresistible to the right men. Emotionally healthy men are not looking for someone to lose herself in them. They're looking for someone who knows who she is. Someone who will walk beside them, not beneath them. Someone who won't sacrifice her soul just to keep the peace. A woman who loves like this is a mirror. She reflects what's real. She also gives love freely, not fearfully. She's not always waiting for the other shoe to drop. She's not anxiously proving she's enough. She's already decided that she is. So she loves without keeping score, without constant self-doubt. And because she's not abandoning herself, she doesn't resent the love she gives. It comes from overflow, not obligation. That's not to say she doesn't struggle. Of course, she has moments of doubt, insecurity, or fear, but she meets those moments with compassion instead of control. She doesn't project her wounds onto others. She brings them into the light. She says, this is where I'm still healing. And in doing so, she makes space for real intimacy. The difference with this kind of woman is that her love doesn't come with strings attached. She doesn't need someone to complete her, fix her, or fill a void. She knows who she is when she's alone, and she likes that person. So when she loves, it's not a transaction, it's a gift. And only those who handle it with care get to keep it. So if you want a love that doesn't ask you to lose yourself, start by choosing yourself. Again and again. Show up for your own life, stand in your own light. And when someone walks in and sees all of you and doesn't flinch, you'll know this is the kind of connection you never have to disappear for.